little bit different than your normal city council meeting. We don't have the same IT setup. We do have a camera that's recording. And if you want to make a comment, you just sit in that corner chair there, pull up the mic, press the button, and you'll be able to give a comment. Just wanted to preempt the meeting with that.
Anybody that would like to comment, if you haven't already signed the sign-in sheet, please do so, just so we have an order of it. Thank you, Jonathan, that's where it is. And the last person, once everybody signs it, just please return it to me. If anybody comes after that, they can comment too, after everybody that's here already has an opportunity to.
All right, let me begin. Good afternoon, my name is Sharice Vickers. I am the Executive Director of the City of Newburgh Industrial Development Agency in connection with the project, which is the subject of this public hearing. Today I am holding this public hearing to allow citizens to make a statement for the record relating to the involvement of the agency with the project, the proposed project, for the benefit of Grand Street Newburgh Property Co. LLC, a New York Limited Liability Company, and FSH Newburgh Hotel LLC, a New York Limited Liability Company, each and collectively known as the company. The proposed project consists of the following: the lease of an interest in approximately 1.78-acre parcel of real property located at 48-54-62 Grand Street, Newburgh, New York, also known as the land. Number 2, the occupancy of the improvements made to the existing 3 buildings on the land totaling approximately 79,072 square feet to consist of a hotel, events venue, spa, and dining facility, known as the facility. And 3, the acquisition and installation therein and thereon of related fixtures, machinery, equipment, and other tangible personal property collectively known as equipment. The land, the facility, and the equipment hereinafter collectively referred to as the project facility. The granting of certain financial assistance within the meaning of Section 85414 of the Act with respect to the foregoing, including potential exemptions from certain sales and use taxes, real property taxes, real estate transfer taxes, and mortgage reporting taxes, collectively the financial assistance. And C, the lease with an obligation to purchase or sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. One company, Grand Street Newburgh Property Co. LLC, will lease the buildings on the land, and the other company, FSH Newburgh Hotel LLC, will operate the businesses located thereat. I intend to provide general information on the agency's general authority and public purpose to provide assistance to this proposed project. I will then open the comment period to receive comments from all present who wish to comment on either the proposed project or the financial assistance contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. The City of Newburgh Industrial Development Agency is authorized and empowered by provisions of Chapter 1030 of the 1969 laws of New York, constituting Title I of Article 18A, the General Municipal Law, Chapter 24 of the Consolidated Laws of New York, as amended, the Enabling Act, and Chapter 577 of the 1982 Laws of New York, as amended, constituting Section 913 of said General Municipal Law, said chapter, and the Enabling Act being hereinafter collectively referred to as the Act. Purpose of this public hearing. Pursuant to Section 859A2 of the Act, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to any project, the agency, among other things, must hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the Act with respect to said project. Since the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, then prior to providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to the proposed project, the agency must hold a public hearing on the nature and location of the project, facility, and the proposed financial assistance to be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project. The Executive Director of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be mailed on October 21st, 2021 to the Chief Executive Officers of Orange County, the City of Newburgh, and the City of Newburgh School District, and published on October 26, 2021 in the Times Herald Record, a newspaper of general circulation available to the residents of the City of Newburgh, Orange County, New York. In addition, the executive director of the agency caused notice of this public hearing to be hand-delivered to each of the chief executive officers of the city of Newburgh on October 21st, 2021, posted on October 21st, 2021 on the agency's website, and also on a public bulletin board located at City Hall, 83 Broadway, Newburgh, New York. Now, unless there's any objection, I'm going to suggest waiving the full reading of the notice of the public hearing, and instead request that a full text of the notice of this public hearing be inserted into the record of this public hearing as Schedule A. The comments received today at this public hearing will be presented to the members of the agency at or prior to the meeting at which the members of the agency will consider whether to approve the undertaking of the proposed project by the agency and the granting by the agency of any financial assistance in excess of $100,000 with respect to the proposed project. The notice of this public hearing indicated that written comments could be addressed to Sharice Vickers, Executive Director of the agency. Written comments have been received by the agency on July 15th by Senator Skoufis and other members of the City of Newburgh City Council. Also on November 4th by Councilmember Anthony Bryce. And on November 4th by Naomi Kirsten Ringstock, who specifically asked that her letter be part of the transcript for today's hearing and asked that it be read. To the Board of Directors at Newburgh IDA, when I first thought of adaptive reuse of the 3 fraternal buildings, a hotel made sense for the building's use and community. I've been lucky to visit 3 Foster Supply hospitality properties in Sullivan County and have continually come away impressed at their ability to respect the property history, community's cultural heritage, while creating a distinct atmosphere that wins design, food, and tourism awards. I will make a few quick points in my full support of the proposed pilot for FSH Hotel Newburgh's project. 1, it seems clear that a project of this scope can only happen with a pilot. Full property taxes on renovated market value would be astounding and unworkable. 2, the proposed FSH project would go a long way to expanding the revitalization of the downtown area beyond Liberty Street. Expanding the areas that tourists walk and visit is a major step towards expanding Newburgh's revitalization. As co-chair of the Newburgh Transportation Committee, I also look forward to seeing more pedestrian and bicyclists on our streets, exploring the cultural richness of our community. 3, high-end hotels with restaurants and spas create many more good-paying jobs than simple box hotels. Newburgh is incredibly well situated to pull in a larger share of the Hudson Valley tourism dollars, and this will translate to good employment for Newburgh residents. 4, indirect jobs will be created from additional tourism in the city and from ancillary services provided by the hotel, example tours, babysitting. I have talked to half a dozen people over the years that have had business dealings with FSH, and I have yet to hear a negative word. While skepticism over developer intentions is always well warranted, based on FSH history in Sullivan County, I can't think of a better partner for Newburgh's next chapter. This is an important project for Newburgh and Orange County. Let's make it an immediate success. Naomi Kirsten Ringstock. Now, just want to ask Bob, do you want to have this comment and we'll do the presentation? Okay, so our chairman, Austin Joyce, now will make a comment.
Thank you everybody for coming today. Thank you, Sheriff, for reading all the legalese, which is important and required. I thought I would just kind of distill it down into plainer English. So the Newburgh IDA is a state-regulated public agency that's empowered to grant certain tax incentives in exchange for community benefits that supersede those incentives. Although there are many potential benefits, the biggest benefit that we examine is jobs that are either created or retained. Especially in a city like Newburgh, whose residents have been generationally economically oppressed, the ability to ensure that our friends and neighbors are given new and better ways to bring a paycheck home to their families is of the utmost importance. It should be made clear what tax rates are being proposed to be written. We live in a state where property taxes are owed based on the value of the property. If that value goes up, your tax payments go up. If that property then runs a business, those tax payments that have gone up can affect your ability to run a healthy business and employ Newburgh residents. The primary benefit that an IDA is empowered to offer is a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes. This is a set schedule of payments made to the city that start at or above the current assessment of the property in question. And then they gradually increase over time until the owner is paying taxes in full, at full assessed value. The IDA does not, and indeed cannot, reduce the taxes an owner owes based on the current property value. Every pilot recipient makes tax payments starting in year one, at or above the current assessed value. Say that again. Every pilot recipient makes tax payments starting in the first year at least the property's current assessed value. And it goes up from there. The break, as they refer to it, the tax break that an owner gets in this situation is they get an assurance of what that increase schedule is going to be. The reason for that is because the fluctuations in taxes going up typically can affect their ability to get financing to actually do the project, or even if they got financing, affect their ability to have the project be a success, and then all the people that had jobs for 2 or 3 years get to be laid off because the project wasn't a success because the taxes increased so much. In many cases, as with abandoned buildings or buildings that are owned by the city or county, the property in question is currently contributing nothing to the tax base. That means that new tax revenue in this kind of situation would start in year one, and would continue as long as the property remains privately owned, continue to increase as long as the property remains privately owned. In addition to the new tax revenue, because a pilot is a legal agreement that the applicant makes with the IDA, it will contain a list of other benefits that the applicants promised, such as jobs being the big one in a city like Newburgh, workforce development initiatives, partnerships with public entities, things like that. This is made a part of the agreement, and we are thereby able to hold this person accountable to the promises they've made via this agreement. If they're not provided to the community, if those benefits are not followed through with as promised, then we essentially get to go back and hit them for the full freight of taxes that would have otherwise been owed. We're here today to listen to the project as proposed, to understand what benefit it would offer our city, both the jobs, tax revenue, and other benefits, and to evaluate whether the project merits the assistance it's requesting. Today's hearing is for you all to be heard, our community, and for us to listen. Today, the nature of a public hearing, it's not like an open Q&A session, but I'm sure that the applicant would be happy to answer some questions. In some cases, I may be able to answer questions. And even if we can't today, you know, a lot of you in this room know me. For those of you that don't, I'm always available to get coffee somewhere and talk about what the IDA does, how we do it, what our philosophy is, and how we evaluate the applications that come before us, and what our obligations are to the city of Newburgh and its residents. So even after today, also feel free to reach out to our office, and we want to get coffee and talk about it. That's what we're here for. We live for 3 blocks that way. Thank you very much for coming here. I really truly appreciate all your involvement, and we really look forward to your attendance, your attention, and your input. With that, I think our mask policy for today, so people, I didn't do it, I'm going to do it, is when someone's talking, I think it's okay for you to take your mask down, obviously put it back up when you're done talking, so we are as safe as we can be while people can still be heard clearly. I hope everybody heard me clearly. I forgot to take my mask off. And with that, we're going to start with the presentation of the project from Sims Foster, the applicant, the principal of the applicant. Thanks.
Thank you, Ross. Hello, everybody. My name is Sims Foster with Foster Supply Hospitality. Just take a couple minutes to introduce the project to anybody that might not know the details. We did a Zoom call with the full IDA board in June to go over the details of what we were proposing. It's pretty special that I brought the boards, but the truth is that I don't know how many times you get to look out the window and see the proposed project. But before I go to that, I just want to say how excited we are to be joining the City of Newburgh community. By we, I mean my wife and I. We have a family business, and as we look to expansion, like many of you and many people that we've met who are passionate about the City of Newburgh, something about this place that called us to explore opportunities here. And core to our values are choosing places to do business that matter to us and where we feel we can have a general positive impact in all kinds of different ways. That's our ethos. So it's not random at all that we're here. We're proud now to own property as well in the city of Newburgh. We are proposing a hotel and restaurant and hospitality complex in the three buildings, the American Legion, the YMCA, and the Masonic Grand Temple, all spectacular buildings with great heritage to the city of Newburgh. Currently owned by Orange County. We are in contract on the buildings. We are proposing now to do a 75-room hotel as part of the project. That would be in the YMCA and American Legion buildings. And in the basement, a spa facility, gym facility that would service both the guests that come and stay, but also the Newburgh and greater community. The Masonic Temple is, I've toured it many times with many people. I still get a great smile on my face as I go through it architecturally. But we are proposing there to do a 150-seat ground floor restaurant, all-day restaurant. The second and third floors. The second was the meeting space for the Masons, the third being the ritual room. Both of those are the event spaces. And we're proposing on the fourth floor to add a small addition to the building that would look down the Hudson and would also serve as another smaller scale restaurant. And then as far as the food and beverage is concerned, we also are proposing for the small green area that's behind the American Legion, a pavilion, very casual food truck concept. So we have multiple food and beverage concepts. Where we are right now is we have been working straight through with architects and engineers for the past 6 months. We've made great progress with the planning board, at least from our perspective. Have gone through public hearing there, and we're grateful to see unanimous support for the project from the planning board. Public hearing, I should say. Also the Architectural Review Committee, which of course needs to approve everything that we do. We're not proposing to change the facades of the buildings, so there's not a major impact architecturally, but we of course still need to satisfy all the needs of that entity. So that's, I'm happy to stay after. I have the boards I can ask. I think I only have 10 minutes or so, so I want to, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the details of the project that we're proposing. I want to just put it out there that this is the first time that I've ever been in front of an IDA with an application. We have not applied for it in any of our previous projects. And the question might come up, well, why are we now asking for it here? The answer to that is that we assess every project based on many factors, but also if the taxes go up, can we reasonably pay that? And so in our other projects that are in, let's call it healthier tax districts in the city of Newburgh, where we've done those assessments, we have not felt the need to go and ask for help. I generally don't like to ask for help. I like to just get things done. But I'm here today asking this board for some help. And the question is, well, what help do you need? I don't have the money in my bank account to finance this project. I need to go down a typical route, which is to get a capital stack that includes debt and equity. In this market, finding especially debt or equity for a hospitality project, especially after the pandemic, has been very challenging. We're very lucky to have a local bank that sees a vision in Newburgh and our vision and is supportive, but they are a bank, and they need to see the project be in a risk profile that they feel we can pay them back their money. It's the same with equity investments. And a critical part of that is what we propose for our application to the City of Newburgh IDA, which is not that we don't pay taxes. The buildings right now pay nothing. As soon as we take title, we will be paying taxes into the City of Newburgh, which we're proud of. What we need to do to get this project financed is some help in escalating those taxes, which is what our application is asking for. So that's why we are here doing that. Quite frankly, anything is possible in life. It is highly unlikely that we will be able to do financing without assistance of this type due to getting it into this profile right away. So I think that I'll leave it there and then back to the board. Obviously, if there's any other questions that I can answer, that's why I'm here.
Thank you very much. We will start the public comment, and we'll go off of the sign-in sheet. And I believe number one, Bill Kanye. You're good. Okay. Kathleen Roberts. Are we just clearly everybody signed it? Okay. Just pass if you don't want to. Tom Roberts. You pass it. Paul Aaron.
Thanks a lot.
You can take my time.
Good afternoon, Paul Aaron. So, So I'm just here to give my 2 cents and ask that the IDA approve this proposal. For me, this is a story about opportunity for families and multi-generations of families. I won't bore you all with the whole story like I have many in this room, but I'm 4th generation. My kids are 5th. And one of my dreams is to see a 6th generation come home. I want my grandchildren to come here. How does that happen? How do we give our city council and our city manager the ability to have a complete Department of Public Works who doesn't only have to be reactive, but can be there to make our streets clean and beautiful and our structures completely secure? How do we allow our city manager and our city council to have a police department that is complete, where our community who live here, who work here, get to see their police officers on the street and get to know them and talk to them? How do we do that? How do we have a fire department that is not just reactive, but has the ability to have a superior, immediate response to emergencies? How do we have recreation for our families in the city, at Downing and Delano Hitch, and all of our parks, our playgrounds, our fields, our riverfront, and our stadium? Do you kids know that we have a stadium in the city? Well, I don't think anybody in this room has probably sat in it, not in 50 years or something. How do we make that stadium and those fields illuminated, lighted, secure, superior fields that are taken care of for our entire community? How does it happen? It requires multi-millions in investment. This project will bring millions for our city council and our city manager to deploy for our community now. It will bring hundreds of millions to our community eventually. It will bring visitors from around the county of Orange, from around the Hudson Valley, from around the United States of America. It will bring visitors from around the world to come to the city of Newburgh, spend time, spend money, spend energy and invest every dollar spent investing in our community. It'll be millions now, it'll be hundreds of millions later. If you're born on Du Bois, like my two daughters, if you're born on Du Bois today, by the time you get to South Middle School, like my two daughters, this property will be fully and completely taxed, providing complete opportunity for our entire community, for that DPW, that police department, for our sidewalks, for our lights, for our security. This is an opportunity for our entire community, for our city. Please, to our IDA, please have the foresight to understand how fast the time goes. How the kids born today will see dramatic benefit to their entire families and their community. My interest in speaking to you today is also self-interest. The opportunity to make the sixth generation, I start crying, to have a sixth generation come home and support this community. This is how you do it. For 50 years, well, let's call it for 30 years, as an adult, I have been witness to short-sightedness. And I'll be polite and use the word short-sightedness in what it means to build a municipality and build opportunities for our families, for generations to remain. The quality of life for the opportunity of all our families and for generations to come together. If you are a Honduran or Ecuadorian or a Peruvian, a Mexican family who has just moved here in the last 20 years, you are working to provide opportunity for your children, just like the generations of immigrants before you that came here. And imagine a place where your children and your grandchildren want to return to because of the quality of life, because of the opportunity of the school district, because your families can be together. So I hope the opportunity comes where the first hotel in Newburgh in a generation can be. And don't tell me about the Imperial. The first hotel in a generation. We grew up here when I graduated from North High and from NFA. We graduated hearing the stories of the Hotel Newburgh and how people came from all over the world and all over the country and all over the Hudson Valley. Folks would stay in New York City for a few nights in Manhattan, and then they would stay at the Hotel Newburgh for a few nights. We don't have a hotel in the city of Newburgh. There's not a hotel in Newburgh. Bring that first hotel in a generation. Bring a quality of life. Bring opportunity. Bring economic stability. Bring generations of our families home. And this is how you do it. So thanks.
Thank you. Donna Cornell.
That's a tough act to follow, isn't it? My name is Donna Cornell, and I was born and raised in this city, so like many of you in the room, I consider it my city. I have been actively involved. I had my businesses here in the city of Newburgh. I retired, whatever that means. I'm still working, as you can see. Volunteer hat of economic development. I was the startup chairperson for the Orange County Partnership, the economic development agency that promotes growth here. And I am, in order to become the first chairperson, I went to the University of Maryland and took the first leg of being a certified economic development professional. And I share that fact so that you understand that when I talk about the ripple effect, the economic impact, one can appreciate I'm doing it from a knowledge base and from an education viewpoint. The ripple effect cannot even be calculated as to how positive this can be for our city and the region. I love this city, as Paul does, and I think that we cannot underestimate how beneficial a project like this can be to the city residents that are here today, and as he talked about, the city future residents, and the future of those residents. In order to make that happen, we need to have incentives. We, in economic development, are cognizant of the fact that you need to incentivize investment in your community. We need to have incentives. And the benefits that can come from the IDA granting this application will make a project like this happen and will be better for the city of Newburgh. And I ask that you consider it and approve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. Jeff Warner?
My name is Jeff Warner. As difficult as it may have been for Donna Cornell to follow Paul Ernenwine, I now have to follow my wife. I grew up in Newburgh. I love Newburgh. It was a wonderful place in which to grow up. And we have an opportunity to help make it return to a wonderful place that it once was and will be. I grew up right down the street here, 3 doors from Washington's headquarters. I am an attorney, and I was a town judge in the town of Newburgh for 17 years. Very involved in economic development. I, together with an associate, redeveloped East Parmenter Street, which back then was known as Crack Alley. And what we did was we took an entire neighborhood with anchors at either end. One anchor being Washington's headquarters, and the other St. George's Cemetery. And we redeveloped it later on with the assistance of Habitat for Humanity. And today, there are a lot of people living on that street that are homeowners paying mortgages and taxes, and whose kids have their own bedroom in which to do their homework, and they run in and out of each other's house with the doors unlocked. That's progress, and that helps. And one of the reasons I mention that is because intertwined in this application is reference to Washington's headquarters, which is the highlight of a visit to Newburgh. The last time I checked, it drew about 22,000 people to the city of Newburgh each year. And I'm mentioning that tourism is going to be an integral factor of the success of this operation that's proposed here in seeking these benefits. I want to mention one fact that probably has slipped by the developers need to pursue and the county needs to pursue, and that is Storm King Art Center. Those people have their act together. If I told you that it drew 20,000 people a year, you might say, that sounds about right, or maybe a little more than that. Well, if I told you that, I'd be wrong. Storm King Art Center draws 200,000 people a year to Cornwall. And when I talk to the operators of Storm King Art Center, what they tell me is people typically come there from afar for half a day, and then they want to know where else to go. Well, the where else could be Cornwall, which has some limited advantages, but where they really want to come to is Newburgh. And we need to make that happen. They have wonderful techniques, and they're going to be a big advantage. This is a good project. This is a helpful project. This is a project that should be approved.
Thank you, Jeff. Maureen Howard.
Chairman Du Bois, City of Newburgh IDA Directors, thank you for the opportunity to address you this afternoon regarding the Sims Foster hospitality application. I too was born in the city, but I've been working in economic development industry for 21 years, and I say with confidence that this is extraordinarily rare. That a company of this caliber takes an interest in a city that is clawing its way back from decades of extreme poverty, high crime, and corruption. The city has suffered with a bad reputation. But now there's you, and there's us. There's a new group of leaders that not only want to take care of our social challenges and do what's right by the citizens of Newburgh, we also recognize the fact that businesses drive the city's economy, and without it, poverty continues, and block by block, we step over the rubble and the lost opportunity. Nothing reduces domestic violence, drug addiction, alcoholism, and crime like a paying job. Nothing builds self-esteem better than opportunity to work and support oneself and one's family. Sims Foster has an outstanding reputation for turning things around, creating beauty in properties that were old. As leaders, we have to help them. They can't take all the risk. They can't afford to put in all the money when the city is in such dire need of companies like theirs to invest and turn things around. So let's build a foundation today by welcoming this company and being a part of their success story. We have an opportunity to partner with them and to buy in with them. When they succeed, it will pave the way for others to invest in our city. There always has to be a first. The first ones in take the highest risk. In time, real estate, we hope, in the city of Newburgh will be at a premium. There will be no reason to have to beg businesses to invest in a crumbling city. They'll want to come here. That's how it works. First, we must build it and offer incentives to attract quality jobs and opportunity, and then it becomes so darn attractive that others will want to follow on their own. But it's the pioneers, the risk takers, the trailblazers, the first ones to navigate the uncharted waters that we have to rally behind and empower. Let's count the jobs. Let's count the capital investment. When you do this, you'll be part of our solution here in the city. And we'll all be part of the future of the city of Newburgh. And we'll all be partners to Sim Foster. It's not them and us. It's all of us. So this is your job as the IDA. I know you have an awesome responsibility, and I respect you so. It's my job as an economic developer to help make this happen. Let's not let this go. Let's do this together. It's a privilege to work with you guys, and I thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Sims Foster is next on the list, but you already spoke on. Carl Bonnet.
Good afternoon. My name is Carl Bonnet. I am a resident of 95 Liberty Street, right around the corner. Thanks for the opportunity to comment today. As a newer city resident, but longtime county resident, I'm excited to be here to endorse a truly great project for the city of Newburgh. Like probably many of you in the room, I've reviewed the project scope, the pilot application, the independent cost-benefit analysis, and as someone who's been involved in the city of Newburgh and the greater county business community for over 25 years, this is a total no-brainer scenario. $25 million investment, significant construction and permanent jobs, historic building, preservation and restoration for buildings that have sat empty for quite some time, boost to an already blossoming tourism destination, sales tax, occupancy tax revenue, and bringing in buildings that have essentially never been on the tax rolls to tax revenue producing properties. Like I said, total no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Burton.
80% of that is scams.
So the last time I spoke here, I forgot to take my mask off and nearly passed out. So I won't make that mistake. It's nice to see so many people here who I assume are in support. I certainly hope so. I am here in support. Just briefly about me and my contribution to the city of Newburgh and what I've been doing here. My wife and I have been investing heavily in the city of Newburgh for the last 6 years. We fell madly in love with this city. We have completed 5 vacant buildings that were in severe shape, kind of like I've never seen before. Currently we broke ground over at the Liberty Street School, which we call the PS6 Center for Film and Television. And we also have broke ground at the Wygouts Tavern on the other side of town, which is a historically significant building that I hope you get a chance to drive by both these projects. They're extremely impressive. I'm also the president of the Newburgh Preservation Association, and I identify myself as an artist, not a developer. So I'll start with my role as the president of the NPA. I took on that role because we were possibly going to have to close the organization, and I felt that it is so incredibly important that we protect one of the second largest historical cities in New York State. That's a big deal. And that is a huge attraction for so many millions of people, not just in the United States, not just in New York, but worldwide. We have an airport that seems to turn on and off flights so often, like a yo-yo, that we know that if we can get things back on track here, that would be an incredible opportunity to bring people from all over the world. That again is incredibly important. There are 3 buildings here that are falling apart, and this project will save those buildings and put them into new use. So I can't underestimate how important that is. As I hear our council contemplate tearing down historical buildings, it is so important that we protect this fabric. You cannot rebuild these buildings from scratch anymore. Once they're gone, they are gone. That is it. I had the luxury of going to the Savannah College of Art and Design, and I was part of a preservation that had started there when I was a much younger man, and it rubbed off. And I know that Newburgh is capable of doing these same things and protecting these just gorgeous, gorgeous buildings. The historical tourism cannot be underestimated as far as revenue dollars, tax dollars. The restaurants that are sprouting up along Broadway and along Liberty and other streets, hopefully, will benefit greatly from that tourism. Because there's nothing better than to go walk a city, experience its historical draws, and then go and have a beverage or have a meal. So all those things, the entire board of the NPA is in support of this project to preserve those buildings. As far as my experience in Newburgh, I fell in love with these buildings and we invested heavily. What I did not anticipate is that I was going to be getting 300 to 800% tax increases. that knocked the wind out of us. And we have still made progress despite COVID and other hurdles that we've had to navigate. There were things here that we were not expecting, but the taxes has been one of the largest burdens that we've had to face. There are so many other reasons here for this project and the benefits to the city of Newburgh. That relationship with the college is not to be underestimated. The colleges, we want these college students here. We want them to have jobs when they graduate, and we want them to stick around in Newburgh. That relationship, that real world experience is everything. The community here, one of the main things, and I work with we hire locally, we work with a lot of people, we've gotten to know a lot of people in this community. The one thing that they need here are jobs. And this project will obviously provide those, but also don't forget, when the restaurants get busier, and the bars get busier, and the stores get busier, those will create jobs. So those don't end up in the report. But working in the film industry for the last 20 years, the byproducts in jobs of operations like this, they're hard to quantify, but I think everyone can understand that they're real, and they will be significant. The sales tax that's being generated by this project, the room tax, again, revenue that Newburgh needs desperately, and it will have it. The other issue here is that this project will support the film industry. We see that the film has been growing here exponentially. It will continue. It's still in the early phases. Our project will add to that, but people need a place to stay. They need a place for their talent to stay. And once people come here to shoot and to stay the night, like my wife and I, they may buy a building or 2 buildings. They may open a business. They will want to invest here. It is hard to drive through these streets and not fall deeply in love and want to be part of this community. I see in the news a lot of the surrounding cities and towns prospering. And I sometimes feel like we have a lot of good news coming out of Newburgh, but I sometimes feel like, hey, what's going on? Why do I feel sometimes when it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back? The answer to that, and I've experienced it ourselves, is the taxes. And I've talked to the mayor, and I've talked to council members. I've talked to Scoofus over there. It is burdensome. And the only way to change that is to attract more businesses and support those businesses. The businesses here need the city's support. That's it. I appreciate everyone's time, and I hope that you guys will approve this project. I don't think what they're asking is unreasonable at all. And the benefits in revenue and in taxes and in jobs is very large. Even if they're only half right with some of these projections, it's still a win for Newburgh. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Squires.
Good afternoon. I'll be very brief. I just want to thank the Foster Group for the hospitality you showed when you gave us a tour back in the early days of the summer. It's a very exciting program, a very exciting project that will do great things for Newburgh. My issue is, and I don't have much to say today because I learned about this meeting a couple hours ago. There is certainly a breakdown in communication somewhere along the line between the IDA and the City Council. I can't talk about the merits of your request because I don't know what the request is. I haven't seen the details. So if information was passed to the city manager or to the mayor's office, it hasn't made it up to the third ward for us to review, or any of our council members, to my knowledge. But as notwithstanding, that's not your issue. It's right down somewhere. I'm not really sure where it is, but it's an exciting project, and I wish you well.
Thank you, Councilman. And I will state for the record that notice of the meeting was hand-delivered to the mayor's office on October 21st. Brian Rye, I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong.
I live across the river, so I'm not going to presume to tell anybody anything about how to conduct business over here, other than I come and conduct business a great deal of the time with business and governmental entities. And I just want to offer one observation. I know that a lot of people have made great points. This is a diamond in the rough. When I first moved to Fishkill, Beacon was crack city. You want to go to the political leadership, somehow met Dia Art Center, and the rest exploded. So I'm just hoping that this will turn into your Dia. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Skoufis.
Thanks very much, Chairman. Thank you, Board. I still have the framework of my remarks in my head prepared since, I don't know, 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m., which is also when I found out about this meeting. And I'll get to those remarks, but first, I am outraged. My blood is boiling at what a couple of individuals said at this hearing, notably Maureen Halligan. She referred to the city of Newburgh as a city that's crumbling, suggested that this city is riddled with alcoholism and drugs and all sorts of vices and problems. We should be blessed that anyone would come to the city of Newburgh and grace us with their presence. How dare you! This is a good project. I look out at those buildings every single day from my window. I'm right across the street. There's nothing I would like more than to see those buildings filled with activity and energy and economic development. It's a good project, and I've communicated that to all the stakeholders here who I've spoken with. The issue is the largesse of the abatements that are being sought. Let me first make a remark that I know how these hearings work. I've been doing this for 9 years in the state legislature. I've been to IDA hearings. I've commented, and some of the folks in this room know full well I've commented on many. It's rare that I'll concede. I think a pilot for this project even makes some sense. I'm not opposed to a pilot out of hand. I'm opposed to this pilot and this pilot application. But I know how these hearings work. You have a couple people in this room, Maureen Halligan, Bill Fioravanti, maybe there's one or two others, who rally the troops. Send out emails, text messages, gotta come to this hearing, show support. That's how I found out about this hearing. Got 2 text messages this morning from people telling me that they were encouraged to come to this hearing at 1 o'clock at City Hall. And they asked me, can I have a few minutes of your time? I don't know anything about the incentives I'm being asked to talk about. Some of the folks who spoke today, I have deep respect for and consider friends. And I don't question their motives. But that is what happens at these hearings. They are not representative of the residents of this city. City of Newburgh is 2/3 non-white. How many non-white people do you have here? Got a couple council members and one or two others maybe. Walk up and down any of these streets. Ask residents of this city. Yes, it's a great project. Do you support giving 12 years of property tax breaks to that project? The taxpayers of this city. The renters who pay to their landlords money that pays for property taxes of this city. Ask them that question, not just the people in this room. Ask them if they support 6 years of a 90% abatement. That is unheard of. First 6 years, a 90% property tax abatement is being proposed. Ask them if they support that, not just the people in this room. I bet a lot of people who were asked to come here don't even know that this project is already heavily subsidized, or as of right, is entitled to subsidies. Right off the bat, $2.3 million in savings from what Orange County paid for these 3 buildings. A steal. Yes, of course there's got to be significant work that goes on in those buildings. $2.3 million off of what Orange County paid for them, and that was 7 years ago. Property values have only gone up since then. The applicant is looking for $2.5 million from the state through the consolidated funding application process. I have enough experience to know that they will likely get all or most of that request. $2.5 million. 2.3, 2.5, up to 4.8. As of right, they can walk downstairs and fill out a 45B application. It's a 1 or 2 page form. Automatic property tax breaks. Don't have to come to the idea. $2.6 million. $7.4 million without a dime coming from the idea. Guarantee you, most of the folks we've been spoken in support of this don't even know about that. I strongly urge this IDA board to continue doing your due diligence and to make sure you do what any IDA is tasked to do. And that is not just issue a blank check to anyone that walks through your doors, but to balance the interests of economic development with the interests of your taxpayers. This application is imbalanced. The applicant has communicated to me over a number of conversations there's significant risk. That's why we need IDA benefits. There's significant risk with this project. In fact, the hypothetical of guests, hotel guests being shot at, was brought up once. And who's going to come to my hotel if one of my guests gets shot in the city of Newburgh? Maureen Hallahan talks about the bad reputation that the city of Newburgh has. That bad reputation is only perpetrated by comments like that are false. This is one of the most revitalized neighborhoods in the entire city of Newburgh. It's one of the safest, if not the safest, neighborhood in the entire city of Newburgh. I agree with something that Paul Erdenwein said, strongly. Because of the nature of this project, you're going to have people from all over the state, the country, and the world coming to stay at these properties. Those rooms are going to be booked faster than you can snap a finger. There are 10, 12 hotels in the town of Newburgh. They all do well. You're telling me the first and the one hotel in the city of Newburgh is going to be as beautiful as this project, with as many tourists coming to the city of Newburgh, that this is somehow a risky business proposition? Give me a break. This project will make big bucks when it's open. And God bless it, what we do. I want it to be successful. But it should not come on the backs, unnecessarily, of local taxpayers. So I hope this IDA board continues to do your due diligence and finds an outcome here that is far more balanced than the one that is before you in this application. The City of Newburgh's taxpayers and residents would thank you for that, and I think you would send a strong signal that yes, you're fair-minded, you want business in this community, you want smart economic development and jobs in this community, but the taxpayers come first. You approve a 12-year pilot at a time when investment, talk about, who's coming to see Newburgh? There is untold investment happening right now in the city of Newburgh, and the vast majority of it is not pursuing pilots. So send that signal, yes, we're fair-minded. Yes, we even think you could use a little extra help on top of the millions you're already getting to do this project. But 12 years, what's being proposed is outrageously unacceptable and unreasonable. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I do want to particularly thank you for recognizing we have been doing due diligence. We continue to do that, and we certainly will not rubber stamp anything. But I appreciate your comments, Senator. Councilwoman McGinn.
From our senator, and thank you when you address about addressing about comments that just understand what's going on.
Hey guys, buenas tardes. I'm not used to not having a 3-minute timer, so this can be fun. So one, I just wanted to thank Chairman and the rest of the board for the service that you do for the community. And to start off by saying that, damn, why'd I have to follow Senator Scoofus? So I will say that the sentiments that he shared, right, I want to echo on the process, right, of the missteps around communication about it. I've spoken to some of the board members, right, about the wants and the need for a partnership, a collaboration between your body and the city council body, right? So, and I feel that has not occurred, and it needs to get rectified going forward. The other thing would be in terms of scheduling the public hearing, right? I hope that the board will consider having additional public hearings at a different time than a 1 p.m. time, so that you can partner with the council body to get the word out, to get other folks to come out to the public hearing aspect of it. I think it does a disservice to the project, which is great. It's a great project, right? I don't think that you'd have a debate about that. I think the details, right? As a council member, I'm still looking and searching for some of those additional details we've had conversations about, and we haven't gotten it. I will be following up with the city manager's office and the mayor's office, right, about putting structures in place, because the mayor is one entity, the council body is another, and the city manager is another, and somewhere in between there, none of us got notified. I found out about it this morning as well, along with everybody else, right? So I think it does a disservice to the project not to have those lines of communication open and not to be transparent about it. This is coming from the impact of, a lot of you guys have come out to some of our council meetings, right, and speak from that side of the mic about the want to over-communicate, the want for transparency, and the want for sharing of information. And it's always humanly interesting, right, that now you guys are on this side of the mic and of the table, and you have an opportunity to impact that and to model that. And I would expect more from that modeling to take place.
Councilwoman, we did hand deliver notice to the mayor's office, and I understand that the mayor is in a sense different from the city council, but and your comments are well taken, and I'm certainly willing to do something different in the future, but I don't think you can blame us for thinking that was sufficient to hand deliver it to the representative of your body. Okay?
Right, and so let me just be clear on my comments. My comments are for a collaboration, right? So that at a public hearing, we have additional members of the public present. So, but to what Senator Scoofus stated, right, a lot of these things are already in the works, and I do appreciate you guys continuing to do your due diligence. Looking forward to being able to digest those numbers, right, the 12 years and the 90%. And I'll echo that, the success of your project it should be wonderful, right? As the representative for Ward 1, where this project is taking place, we had a great walkthrough. I was very candid with you about the project itself, right? Like, yes, please, it should be successful, right? And I think there's commitment from everybody here that we want to make it successful, but it has to be collaborative and it has to involve the community as well. And I think when we don't have transparency in the process, when we don't have communication, it does a disservice to the message that's trying to get out that I know you guys all want to fulfill. So, like I said, I'm used to just a 3-minute thing. There's no timer in it, but I won't belabor the process any further. It's just that I hope that this is a misstep that can get rectified going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilwoman. Hannah Brooks.
Hi. Hello, everyone. So I think I know every single person who spoke before, and that I think is important, because I think people are the most important. I'll be very brief. And I do disagree with some of my friends here, because I think if you want to know about what's happening, you make it your business to know about what's happening. And this, even I noticed October 21st, certainly there were many, many other opportunities to find out that there was a project in the works and that there were multiple meetings and upcoming meetings. So I do have to respectfully disagree with those comments. I also think that the answer here lies somewhere in the middle. We need balance. I think that it's extreme to say that this is the first project that's taking a risk in Newburgh. Many people in the short term have brought us to this point and have taken many financial and emotional risks. And around the corner from here, probably many of you may know that George Washington took a risk to turn down the monarchy right around the corner. This is the birthplace of America. We need to get it right here in Newburgh. I was not born here in Newburgh. I was a convert, like so many others here in the room, and fell in love. This is a very special place. We need to treat it with care. And it's not just the architecture, the buildings, the fact that it's the second biggest in the state, second business historic district. It's because the people, we need to treat them with care. The people who were born here, who have a stake in this place, the people who have come here and invested their hearts and souls in this place. And I was one of them. I don't want to belabor that. I had to recently leave. I think that taxes are truly a burden that has pushed out people who wanted to make a difference. And I think it's very painful to have to say that. I think whenever we bring in, whenever a pilot is asked for, a pilot is somewhere between a gift and an investment. And I think we need this investment. These properties right now are not contributing anything, so we can begin with a pilot and then move on. We need to stabilize the assessments of the developer asked for that, saying they need to know what the bill will be next year. Many homeowners in this city don't. There have been, again, I had a 400% property tax increase since I've been here. You can't budget like that. If a developer needs it, how much more so the individuals who live here, the homeowners and the renters who live here. And if we fund sustainable businesses that will ultimately contribute to the tax rolls, I think that will be, in the long term, the way we need to go. Too many short-term decisions have gotten us in a very difficult place here. So I just want to add my support for providing what's needed for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Sean Ward.
So I want to start with that I am a resident of Newburgh. I have been for 23 years. Paul's Point. Sorry about that. So I'm a resident of Newburgh. I have been my whole life. It's Paul's Point. I played baseball at Delano Hitch Stadium throughout my whole youth. I would love to see my kids play there someday. I'm here on behalf of Advanced Testing. We're a member of the local community, started in Newburgh. over the past 37 years, in this time, we've observed many changes. We want to see more positive change come to the region as well as the city of Newburgh. Foster Supply is a community-focused group. They've proven to provide high-quality projects that become staples of the community. They join, allowing them to further engage and support the areas that they have businesses in. The Grand Street project will bring spending from outside the city of Newburgh, helping bolster the local economy, growing the existing businesses, as well as encouraging others to join in the ongoing revitalization of the city. Additionally, it will deliver meaningful employment opportunities, which are much needed, as well as tax and sales revenue. The project has demonstrated the need for not just a pilot, but this pilot, in order to proceed. The IDA's approval of the requested agreement will allow this important and impactful project to move forward. We fully support the project and encourage the IDA to approve the requested pilot agreement, allowing the city of Newburgh to realize the many benefits that it represents. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Freeman.
That's enough. Y'all see, not here, y'all see.
Thanks very much. My name is Bill Fioravanti. I live at 262 Montgomery Street in the city of Newburgh. I am also the Director of Economic Development for Orange County, and I'm soon to be the Director of the Orange County IPA. I will full disclosure, again, I work for the county, and the county is selling these buildings to Foster Supply Hospitality. But anyone that knows me in this room or otherwise knows that has little to nothing to do with my motivation here, why I'm so passionate about this project. I have been emotional also about this project, especially I've been working on this for over 2 years, and to see, and I've seen it over several weeks and months, to see the Fosters be pitted, really seen as someone that's trying to come in here and take advantage of the city, and I've heard that. This isn't a project for real Newburgh people, these aren't real Newburgh jobs, they're trying to rape the city. I am incredibly emotional about that because it's just plain wrong. People in my line of work use the words game changer and transformative. We use that all the time, okay? We overuse it. In this case, it is absolutely the case. I know we're talking about what great things happen, and absolutely, I'm very proud of the little piece that I play, and so many of us here, in what we've done to turn the city around and really the direction that we're going. But let's not get carried away. A lot of the investment we're seeing is homes being purchased by, say, people from Brooklyn, fixing them up, and do-it-yourself remodels. We're not seeing very much private development. We're just starting to see it now. The Baxter project, Wireworks, that's one of the first projects we've had where it's private investment, commercial investment in the city. Before that, I think the assessor told me that we had in the last 15 years, the new construction projects we had here in the city commercial were Dunkin' Donuts and a gas station. That's what we've had here. So let's not get carried away. And by the way, where are all the hotels? If it's really, the market is so great and everyone's dying to build a hotel, who else is doing it? I don't know of any others. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe not. And by the way, I helped manage the RFP, the request for proposals, for the county. When we put this out last year, we got the Foster Supply bid and one other, and I'll say it was from Kearney Development Group, who does great work here in the city in the Mid-Hudson, mostly in affordable housing. I'm all for it. I absolutely believe in balance, the word that's been used a few times here. We need to balance commercial development, bringing in jobs, new money, new investment, outsiders, believe it or not, outsiders. We can't do it on our own. We have to balance that with affordable housing, making sure that the people that are here, that have been here, can stay here. So I co-chair the Mayor's Strategic Economic Development Advisory Committee, CDAC, you may have heard of it. That's a lot of what our work is. Trust me, there are other members here in the room of that committee, and we wrestle and struggle all the time to maintain that balance. It's not easy, but we do. We absolutely believe in that. Let's just talk about the benefits here. First of all, jobs. We all know we need jobs. And I talk to people in the city all the time. Hey, we have helped, Maureen, myself, others in economic development, we've helped bring in plenty of jobs outside Newburgh, just here in the town. If we can really master the transportation, we can get them there. We don't have a lot of job creators right here. I think they applied, they said 61 jobs. I know that when it really comes to full fruition, this project, it can be closer to 80 to 100 jobs. Right downtown that people in Newburgh can get to, okay? Also construction jobs, 110 construction jobs. We also brokered a connection with SUNY Orange, which I love the college, I love the president. They're not doing that great here. Enrollment is down. We need it to be strengthened. Right away, we brought Foster Supply Hospitality to SUNY Orange, and they're working on a hospitality academy to help create a pipeline of workers qualified trained workers for hospitality jobs at their site and elsewhere in Orange County. It's critically important. It could help give a real boost to the college. How about taxes? Just looking at your own independent cost-benefit analysis that you conducted here, somebody else, not tied to any of us, $9.2 million in taxes to be generated between property taxes, sale tax, and occupancy, otherwise known as bed tax. They're going to bring what they estimate 25,000 visitors to Newburgh. They're going to bring them here. And if you know anything about what they do in Sullivan County, they take great pride in sourcing locally food, soaps, whatever it might be in their hotel, and they curate the experience for their guests all around the locality there. And they're going to do that here in Newburgh. It's not going to be an island that stands among itself. They're going to be 25,000 people here. We're going to discover the rest of Newburgh with their encouragement. Incredibly important. And it's also going to spur development, more private investment and development around the city. My agenda, I'm very open about it. My agenda is to help redevelop the hillside here. We have this chasm between what's gone on the waterfront and what's happening here. And we have that big chasm in between. I want to see it redeveloped. Yeah, I want to see mixed use. I want to see stores, commercial. I want to see mixed income, like what we're trying to do everywhere. I do want to recoup a lot of property tax revenue that we're missing right now there. This can help spur that. It's right around the corner. Incredibly vital there. A few more things from your independent cost-benefit analysis. $9.6 million in construction wages. $3.3 million in job wages, permanent job wages. Again, $9.2 million in taxes. $22 million in economic benefit. All this for you phasing in the onerous property taxes. We all know it. If you live here in Newburgh, you know it. If you're a business owner, you know it. Ad nauseum, you hear it all the time. The city council. How many times do you have to hear it? And yes, are we going to give them a break to come here? Yes, to get them here. And then when they're done with the pilot, in 12 short years, they're paying full taxes. Probably be one of the highest tax-paying parcels in the entire city, just out of nothing. People like to talk about pilots and say, yeah, they get the pilot, then it's up, the tax break's over, then they leave. It's never happened here. Never in Orange County. Never. Yes, there's been advantages, and it's a great place to be. But they complete that. Name one. You can tell me. We'll talk about it.
Medline. Where are we on?
Medline, not to get off, Medline outgrew a building that's 500,000 square feet in order to build.
All right, guys. We're going to
Okay.
anyway.
Absolutely. And they all, those are probably. Go ahead.
No more.
Understood. Okay. So again, this is for the benefit of a phase-in on property taxes and being exempted from sales tax on building materials and equipment and saving on mortgage reporting tax. That's what we're giving them. Why do we give IDA incentives? And all these things have been talked about. Yes, it's a risk. I don't want to hear it from anyone that says it's not a risk. Again, where are the rest of the hotels? Where's the rest of the hospitality investment going on in downtown Newburgh during the pandemic? I'm not seeing it. We're not hearing about any of it. If you know some people, call me, because that's what I'm here to do. I want a competition for Fosters. Believe me, I certainly do. Okay, $25 million hospitality investment right here, right now. By the way, these buildings, because I know there's a lot of demand, well, they better be paying full taxes right off the bat. Those three buildings are a combined age of 321 years old. They've been paying taxes, they have not been generating taxes for more than 280 years. And now we're going to say, hey, someone comes and makes a $25 million investment, you better be paying your full boat right off the bat, even if it means you can't be sustainable. Look, I'm not doing this to make Sims Foster rich or make him profitable. But if his hotel is not profitable, it's not sticking around, and it's not going to generate taxes, it's not going to create jobs. Simply put. And those taxes, by the way, I think your own estimates show $800,000 a year out of the gate. Again, that's one of the highest tax-paying parcels here because we have so many other institutions, vital ones, hospitals, colleges, that don't pay anything. So this will be one of the highest taxpayers very shortly, for sure. And this, I just want to be clear, this is not, I hear these words, corporate welfare. This isn't corporate welfare. This isn't some big mega corporation that's getting a break here. Okay, this is a husband and wife and another partner trying to make this happen here in Orange County. And again, I resent on their behalf the fact that they're being pictured as people that are really trying to take advantage of the city. And the last thing is the reason for these incentives is because they are needed. I happen to know there's a very, very high likelihood that the close to $20 million loan they need for this project won't happen unless there's something done with the orange taxes here. We need to have it. And if they don't get a loan, guess what? The project doesn't happen. These incentives are very simply here for one reason, in order to make this project happen. We talk about a lot of great things, a lot of dreams, but they don't all come to fruition. Let's not miss this opportunity for all of us, for us as taxpayers, for all the folks that aren't here being represented, who can work in this location here, and what it will do for all the businesses in the general area. This is an unbelievable, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us. Maybe in 10 years there'll be other opportunities that aren't once in a lifetime. But these folks are the pioneers. We need to get it started. Let's not miss this opportunity together. I encourage you to approve these benefits. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill. Jonathan Getzer.
Thank you.
Johanna Yawn.
Good afternoon. I wasn't going to go into my whole personal journey, but everybody else has been. So, I am a lifelong resident of Newburgh, born and raised here. I have lived as a renter in every ward of this city at some point in my life. And in 2018, I bought my first home, which was a deteriorated historic house, falling apart. Jeff mentioned some of the unpleasant nicknames of some of the neighborhoods. My house was known as the Keg House. To anybody that grew up here, you all know it. It's where there were wild parties and people trashed the place. So I moved in 2018. I've invested lots of resources and I've worked with my own hands to restore this house. But unfortunately, every year my taxes go up 15%. There's a long, complicated story I could talk to you about later, but essentially what they do is they assess at 100% market value, and so they get around these tax caps and such, and in reality, my taxes have gone up 15% each year. There's a limit. Of course, my salary doesn't go up that high each year, and there's a limit. There's a point when I won't be able to afford my home. So I'm fighting very hard for the creation and development of a better economic base so that I won't see those increases and won't lose my home. It's also 259 feet away from the house I grew up in, so this is, not only do I live in my home city or my home ward, but I live on my home street and I don't want to leave. So I am also, in addition to being a resident here, I am also the Orange County historian, and I also teach historic preservation at SUNY Westchester. So what I've done today is I've gotten some of the slides from my teaching for my course that I teach, Intro to Historic Preservation, and I've attached them here for this group to look at. I encourage them to take a look at the data, and I won't go through every bit of it here, but I can quote a few things. One statistic is that for every dollar that's invested into historic preservation and put in our local adaptive reuse projects, $7 is returned in tax revenue. So an investment in adaptive reuse is an investment that's going to help our community. I'll skip some of this, you can look at it on your own. There's a big historic tourism industry here in Newburgh. Washington's headquarters, not only do they bring 22,000 people like Jeff mentioned, but they are the largest group of visitors of any of the New York State historic sites. So there is the Office of Parks and Recreation in New York. They run about 35 historic sites around the whole state of New York. Washington's headquarters in Newburgh is the most popular of those sites. And I wasn't going to go into this either, but I should mention it. I got my start in history as a tour guide at Washington's headquarters when I was 19 years old. I knocked on the door, I needed a job, and I asked if there were any jobs available. And lucky for me, they were able to cultivate my interest and eventually offer me a position as a tour guide. So I worked for 7 years there at Washington's headquarters, and then for 2 years at the Crawford House Museum in Newburgh. So there are not many of my friends, people that I went to school with, who can say that they've worked in the city. Most of them get in their car, if they've even been able to be able to stay here. They get in their car and they drive somewhere else. They drive to Westchester or Poughkeepsie or Middletown or Goshen in order to work. It takes a car, it takes some connections to be able to do that. The fact that I was able to knock on a door in my home community and say, I need a job, and then be given an opportunity that has led to an entire career in historic preservation. It's a blessing that I never want to diminish. It was so important to me in my life. I want more people in Newburgh to have that opportunity. I want them to be able to work in historic preservation, adaptive reuse. Some people like to do things hands-on, and I teach at Westchester how to fix buildings as a component of what I do. I want people to have those skills here in Newburgh. And the industry of adaptive reuse, hospitality, these are industries where there can be very good jobs and paths to careers
for other young people like me who wouldn't have had those opportunities otherwise. So I just want to leave you with one thought, and that is that this year, 2021, is the 50th anniversary of urban renewal. From 1971 to 1973, 1,300 buildings were torn down behind us. You can look out the window and see the scar that is still there from that disastrous project. And many might not know, because you don't study these things like I do, but in the 1970s, when the pilot program was created, it was created to rectify the disaster of urban renewal. So here in Newburgh, where we have been afflicted by the loss of that entire district that used to pay taxes into our city coffers, and now is still suffering 50 years later, this pilot program is for us. It is for us to take advantage of, to get investors to come and put jobs here. And before I leave, I also would like to say that I had the great honor of being able to open the time capsule at the Masonic Temple a couple of years ago. I did it with a group of Masonic members, people who were very sad to have been displaced from the city and lost their building. But they participated with me in opening the time capsule. And I have those items with me today in the archival boxes that are on the chair. And when this meeting is over, if anybody would like to stay and take a look at some of the artifacts that came from the Masonic Temple, I'd be happy to talk about the history of the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anna Fuentes. Clark Newman.
I'm an ardent supporter of this project. It stings every time I hear negative comments about the city of Newburgh that I love dearly. Stings a lot. And there's been some great progress. I've made some really, really great progress. But if we want to really, I hate to use the word, but accelerate, but set this process on fire and bring more great development and projects after this one, you get this going right here. And things will get going. It's a phenomenal opportunity. This is a gift we can't walk away from. I pray you make it happen. I'm pulling for you. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Clark. Assemblyman Jacobson.
Well, as all you know, I have an office across the street from the project. I used to be on the city council here, and I'm a resident of the city of Newburgh. Probably if I was smart politically, I wouldn't even say anything here today. I'd tell you I had another event to go to, which I did, which I cut short. First, I don't think anybody is here in bad faith. I think everybody here believes what they believe, and from there. Secondly, I'm in favor of development. I write a lot of letters. I try to help people. I've been a big supporter of the studio project, the renovation of Liberty Street School. So the question is here, does this pilot make sense for the, obviously, developer and the city of Newburgh and the school district, which will be affected. The school district will be affected as well. So when this project was originally pitched to the county, at least publicly, the pitch was, well, since the community college won't be here, this project will pay taxes. There was no mention of this sort of pilot at the time. And the question, and there's no doubt that the city needs more tax revenues. Of course we need more tax revenues. But does it make sense for the first 6 years for this project to pay almost no additional taxes? So that has to be considered. I do think that it's, what should happen now is that the IDA board should take all the comments into consideration and have some meetings with the city council, the manager, the controller, go over that, and also have a discussion with the school board. I think that would make sense, because they're going to be affected. And I know you don't have to do that. You could just go ahead, make your decisions, and you wake up the next day and now you find out what you have or don't have. But I would hope that you do that. Whether this project makes economic sense, that's not really for me to comment on. Do you think a boutique hotel at $300-400 a night, because that's what's in the numbers that's being proposed? I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if that's the best place for a hotel. I'd rather see a hotel and convention center on the waterfront. That's my dream. But that's not the decision here. It's not what's a better project, what's another project. So the question is, does this pilot make sense? If any developer says without this pilot, the project won't survive, then you really have to look at the project and see if the numbers make sense. And so that's something that you should consider. And you want to make sure, I want it to succeed. I do not want to see this project fail in year 7, and then all these rooms are converted to a homeless shelter or something of the sort. I don't want that. I don't want that to be. I want it to thrive. I don't want it to be, fail and then it goes to a not-for-profit and a homeless shelter or something like that. That doesn't help anything. So I do want it to. Work. I want it to make sense. I think at this point you should reconsider the numbers. Sit down with the city of Newburgh and the school district. Let them know how they're going to be impacted. There's still going to be additional costs to the city. There's going to be need, which is fine. And I really hope it would work. I hope that we do things in the downtown. And the only way you have a successful downtown is you got to have a reason to come downtown. And that's the kind of thing that I would hope happened in the city of Newburgh, because if you have a successful downtown for reasons to come there, then maybe people will go to the hotel. So, without repeating what others have said, I think that the project has a lot of worthy goals and hopefully will be successful. But I think that you should reconsider the numbers and sit down with the city and the school district and other people, have another public hearing in the evening like we do for the city council. And as you know, that gets a lot of attendance and a lot of people speaking, but that's what government is about. So I thank you. If you want to discuss this with me, you know where I am. So, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Gabriel Berlin.
Hello everyone, thank you for having this hearing, thank you for letting me speak, letting all of us speak. My name is Gabriel Berlin, I live in the city of Newburgh. I am a triple threat, I'm a taxpayer, a homeowner, and a small business owner. Anything everybody talks about. It's interesting to hear people speaking in the past tense and the future tense about Newburgh. I moved here because of how Newburgh is now. I don't want Newburgh to change. It can improve, things can get better, but I'm not looking for Newburgh to change. I'm especially put off by people who use words like pioneer or settlers. There's some real bad history with that, both a long time ago and recently. And people need to come to Newburgh to be a part of the Newburgh that exists. And if one is viewing the people who live here and all economic strata as undesirable or as pitiable, or that will be better off when they have smaller numbers, I'm not sure Newburgh is for you. There are a lot of people, it's interesting how many people have already said, I grew up in Newburgh but live somewhere else. If this is not the Newburgh you want, you don't have to live here. And I think a similar thing would be true for businesses. If I mean, let's be real. Businesses come to a place, any city, Newburgh, anywhere, because it's profitable for them. It's not charity. It's beneficial. I think this project is beneficial. I can state that up front. Clearly seems like a good plan. Hotels are good, jobs are good. The petitioner has come to some of our meetings and has been really open and it's been fantastic, which is a big improvement on how things were in the past. But people come here because it makes money, and because they will make money, or at least they have a business plan to make money. And it needs to be, these proposals, this entire negotiation or discussion or public hearing needs to be approached that way. That we are not, this is not charity, this is not a nonprofit. This is a money-making venture. There are secondary benefits to the city, but the city is not getting revenue. I'm a taxpayer on multiple levels. I'm not getting any revenue from this. My taxes go up. I don't get any money. I have a business here. I've lost a ton of personal business during COVID. No one's giving me any money. I'm just out of luck. So people who are here to make money need to have a viable business plan. Hearing that they need a tax break doesn't sound quite accurate to me. More like they want one. It is reasonable to ask for one. I don't think it's dishonest or unfair for them to ask for one. I think that's how free market capitalism works. You seek out maximizing profit. You use the tools to your advantage. It is a reasonable proposition. It is up to everyone else, specifically the IDA, to decide to make the decision based on the application. But need and want are two very different things. I've been in Newburgh for 6 years, and when I moved up here, everyone was like, oh, is Newburgh changing? Is Newburgh changing? Is it gentrifying? And I was expecting it to happen real quickly. And there are good things, and there are a lot of bad things about it. But it wasn't really happening super quickly. Mike opened amazing restaurants. That was awesome. But it was a steady progress rather than this skyrocketing thing that I had been kind of led to believe. And I would say that since COVID lockdown, it has dramatically accelerated. All of a sudden, there are a lot more people in Newburgh. I work in the front of my house and stare out my front window every day. And as soon as lockdown hit, all of a sudden there were twice as many people walking dogs and walking kids around. And people moving here, or people who lived here but were commuting all the time and now are spending more time here. And Newburgh, things are changing in Newburgh. Newburgh is becoming more and more of a valuable commodity to investors. I mean, there are real estate investors that own properties in Newburgh that are investment groups from a year ago. So we are well beyond the mom and pop level of ownership in Newburgh. We need to value Newburgh as such. I think that the time period where Newburgh was desperate for people to come or needed to beg people to come or give away a lot of money are shifting. And the question is, are we there now? Or are we getting there? Are we near? Has it already happened? This kind of tax break it's basically the opposite of free market capitalism. And I assume most people in this room fully believe in free market capitalism. But for the government to be giving away tax breaks, I mean, it is choosing to transfer public wealth from the public to a private money-making entity. That's not free market capitalism. That's something else. If it were publicly owned or the public was seeing a percentage of the profit, it would maybe be a different story. But this is a free market enterprise and a free market company coming to a free market town that is being given a huge financial advantage. The argument is jobs, of course, and other similar benefits. How many are decent jobs? How many are local residents going to get? How many of the jobs that local residents get are going to come with benefits? How many that local residents get are minimum wage? Are any of them above minimum wage? When I go to the restaurant, which I will, because I'm desperate for good cocktails, Mike has really helped us out on that front. Will I be greeted by someone who went to NFA or someone who moved here, for a good paying hospitality job? Basically, what we're talking about with these tax breaks in return for benefits is trickle-down economics. I guess I foolishly thought that it was trickle-down economics and Reaganomics were pretty widely discredited, but here we are. And why do trickle-down economics persist? Generally because if you're at the top, it's actually a great proposition for you. And most of the people in this room are near the top. I'm not saying we're 1%ers or whatever, but it's the business owners, it's people who own their homes. That's who most of the people are in this room. And it's a good proposition for people like me. I will speak for myself. I'm wealthier than most Newburghers. I own my house. I have a business. I am aware of the percentage of Newburgh that lives in poverty. If you're at the top of the trickle-down pyramid, it's pretty great. If you're at the bottom, it is objectively not. I'm disappointed in the communication from the IDA. Residents straight up did not know about this. We can pass the buck and blame the mayor, but if the IDA really wants community involvement, it needs to make more of an effort. I run the transportation committee here in the city. It's entirely volunteer. We have no legal authority, no approval power, no oversight. We are basically a group of volunteers who get together and try and think about good ideas. We do infinitely more outreach than was done for this meeting. Infinitely. And we have no legal authority. The most we've been able to do is get stop signs put in. So we get better turnout for stop signs getting put in than we get for a question of $1 million. Millions of dollars. 12 years. Millions of dollars. Going forward, we'll be generous and say this was unintentional oversight. I'm sure everybody here is aware that if you work a minimum wage part-time job, you cannot take time off. If you take time off, you do not make your rent. So any hearing held during business hours is automatically a hurdle to the lower down you are on the economic ladder. Hearings have to be after 6 p.m., ideally on weekends. Look, it sucks, pardon my language. Being on these boards, running committees, coming after work, coming extra hours, taking off time, it's a lot of work. But if you're serious about public engagement, especially in Newburgh, from all economic stratuses and all communities, there's a lot more that needs to be done. At minimum, City Council should probably be directly involved. I am here because my councilwoman texted me 20 minutes before it started. They found out this morning. Once again, we can pass the buck to the mayor, or we can do more of an outreach. But this is how it is, and this is the purview of the IDA, to decide the fate of millions of tax breaks with, in my opinion, inadequate interaction with enough city residents. I'm glad to see that there are a lot of them here. We have differences of opinion. I was expecting to not see any city residents, but there's been quite a few, and I think that's great, but not nearly enough. This is kind of, like I said, Newburgh's changing. We're trying to figure out where we are on the changing scale. But giving out tax breaks to businesses is old news. It's old business. That's how it's been in Newburgh for decades. And we can say that, this is creating jobs and Newburgh's changing and it's gentrifying and positives and negatives and all that, but tax breaks for companies is nothing new, either on the county level or the city level or anything in between. The question would be, when does Newburgh start standing up for itself? And Newburgh needs self-esteem. And I don't mean the people, because if you talk to anybody who lives here, new resident or old, they are so proud of the city the way it is now. Not the way it used to be. And I don't mean city council. Most of the city council members and staff that are here I consider personal friends, and I'm fully aware of how proud they are of the city. But the people who need to have pride in Newburgh are the ones making the decisions. In this case, specifically the IDA, the ones with final authority to decide the fate of millions of my dollars, of our dollars, of everyone's dollars. It's time for Newburgh to stop begging, basically. We are a great city. People are moving here like crazy. Businesses are opening. I think the time of us doing giveaways is coming to an end. We need to stop giving giveaways to private companies. We need to start making the demands that Newburgh deserves.
Thank you. Elizabeth Rowley.
Prior to the pandemic, the Single Bite was all about educating young people about the value of every bite that goes into their mouth and how important it is really to develop good habits at a young age. And Sins and Kirsten both were going literally into classrooms to discuss just how important this was, and also, of course, up in Sullivan County, talking about all the local farms and agriculture and richness up there that they could really, literally walk into their backyard, pick a mushroom, and have it for dinner. So a Single Bite, since the pandemic has completely pivoted their work to really deliver essential meals to families in Sullivan County. Last I checked, it was over 50,000 meals that they've delivered in the last 18 months, raised money, given from their businesses, asked their patrons to support residents of Sullivan County, so folks, of course, who are coming from all over the world to stay in these beautiful hotels, to make a contribution, spend a percentage of their stay, supporting a Single Bite. So why I mention this is there's been a lot of talk about Newburgh, its other needs, poverty, domestic violence, et cetera, et cetera. We all know that the needs are endless and that the support is not bottomless. So, I really am in support of this project for many, many reasons. Of course, as a resident here, looking forward to another vibrant and exciting place to visit, to frequent, to have my friends and family stay when they come to visit us. But I also believe Sins and Kirsten would really add a great deal to our community in terms of giving back, building a culture of that among their employees, their visitors, their stakeholders, and the thousands and thousands of tourists that will come and stay at their hotels every day. So that's my angle this afternoon. Talk about community benefit. I think that's very real. In addition to the economics of this project, is what they would really bring to the community, to our nonprofits, and to the people that live here who aren't here today to lend their voice, perhaps. But I really do believe that is part of their DNA, and I think that they would be a great benefit to this community. So that's it for me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Anne Marie Nye.
Hi everyone, I'm Anne Marie Nye. I'm a resident of the city of Newburgh. I live on Clinton Street in Ward 1. Some of you may have seen me before, but you almost certainly haven't seen me speak. I hate public speaking, but I was made aware quite shortly before this meeting that not a lot of city residents were aware that this was happening, and I was notified by my council person, so I decided to come down and speak. So I moved here from Brooklyn in 2015, so I'm intimately familiar with the attractions of Newburgh. And I have to tell you, you do not need to incentivize people to come here. They're coming. I think it's hard for people who grew up near but not in the city, or who have lived outside of it for any considerable period of time, to understand how the city is viewed by savvy people from the outside. The Hudson Valley is currently one of the hottest tourism destinations in the entire world. Newburgh is uniquely situated. In my opinion, it has the best views along the entire river, amongst other things. And so I think a lot of the rhetoric about how we have to lure people here with incentives arguably does more harm than good. Who specifically are we talking about? Who needs to come here and why? And why are they more desirable than the people who are here already? Now, Newburgh is depopulated. I do think that we can have development without displacement here if we're careful about it. But we do have to be careful. And I'm not naive. I'm well aware of the demands of investment capital and the requirements for securing loans. I do not doubt anything that these projects, the owners of this potential project are saying. I completely believe them. I just want to hit pause on the rhetoric that always bending to the demands of investment capital is an unalloyed good for the city, and how we think about that in the larger context of the city's development. I love old houses and historic properties. I grew up in one. I rented several in my adult life, and I purchased one here in the city. But I do think it's important to interrogate whose history we believe is deserving of preservation, and how breezily it gets linked to economic forces that double down on the same kinds of things that alienate people who hear things like historic preservation and wonder, does that mean my history? So I think it's very easy for people from a certain background and class to to admire and fall in love with the buildings here and overlook the people that live in them now and have lived in them, especially over the past 20 to 40 years. As I mentioned before, I moved here 6 years ago. I care deeply about the city, and I'm proud to be a part of this community, but it would be unbelievably disingenuous to pretend that there weren't strong economic incentives for me to purchase a home here. I did not have the capital to purchase in New York City where I lived. I did have the capital to purchase it here, and I think we need to think about the reasons for that and the underlying economic forces at play. Newburgh has a complex history, but it's undeniable that the unhealthy Newburgh tax situation is part of the picture of what depressed real estate values. The taxes are inextricably linked with what makes the city full of such attractive properties to begin with, and as such, they're simply part of the risk, which, let's not forget, has considerable likely upside attached. That's why this project is being proposed to begin with. I don't blame the business owners here for pursuing avenues to maximize profitability. That is absolutely their job. I do not wish them ill. I am not against this project. I think it is likely to confer many benefits to the city, but it will also consume city resources and infrastructure. That's fine, of course, absolutely, but contribution to the ongoing maintenance of that infrastructure commensurate with the footprint is a fair ask. But the devil, as they say, is in the details. I think it's very important to be very careful about advocating for jobs by overall numbers, as though Newburgh or any city should be grateful for any jobs. A job is not an unalloyed good. We need good jobs, particularly when we are talking about hospitality, an industry that is notorious for low-pay and oppressive working conditions. I trust fully that this project is committed to hiring and developing talent on a completely different model, but I do think that the rhetoric around the quality of the jobs on offer should be led just as much or more than the total number in every pitch that we hear. Because let's be clear, in ventures of this size, anything other than a job that pays a living wage is a vector for exploitation and not a meaningful handout. Again, I think this project is great, and I am not blind to the benefits. We will be getting, in any case, many more dollars of taxes than the properties produce now. Good jobs are important to this city, and I think that there are lots of benefits here. But I do think it's quite easy to evaluate this project as the first hotel. But I do think it's an argument to say that these business owners are the first and they deserve special treatment for taking additional risks. But these things do have a way of becoming well-tread paths. The next developer will come in and claim that they require the same deal in order to secure similar financing. And then we end up in a situation where we can only bring in people who will accept subsidized deals. And I think that we need to think about setting that precedent and what that means. But I also understand that you're considering Newburgh's reputation as being like unfriendly to business and trying to counter that as well. I trust that you will look at everything and evaluate it carefully. I just wanted to be here to represent the point of view of some of the residents who don't have the same kind of job flexibility that I do and wouldn't be able to make it. Thanks.
Thank you. Giselle Martinez. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. I had the pleasure of meeting some of the folks in the room today. And my name is Giselle Martinez. I'm a lifelong City of Newburgh resident. I've lived in Ward 1 my entire life. My entire life has been in this tiny corner of Newburgh, from my first internship to my current job with the state government, the assembly member. I also have a few concerns. I do think that everybody here is in good faith and everybody here just wants what's best for Newburgh. I know that I am relatively young, and so some folks already question my age, but if you do not take my comment, if you take my comment with a grain of salt, I do ask that you also take into consideration our state representatives' opinions as well. I wanted to echo Senator Skoufis' comments from earlier. I do think that the timing of this hearing, it was a little bit of a concern for me. A lot of folks in Newburgh are working class. They work from, whatever it may be, 6, 7 a.m. to, different shifts, work 2 jobs. it's very difficult. Looking at this room, Newburgh is predominantly black and brown. I can count the people of color in this room on my hand, and that is a little concerning for me. I do look forward to working with the IDA in the future, considering that I am a council member-elect. I wanted to bring up as well some of the other concerns that I had about our taxpayers. Whether we are homeowners or renters, we are also paying taxes, whether they be directly or indirectly, and I want to make sure that we're putting taxpayers first. This business, of course, I would love for it to thrive. We want Newburgh to thrive in business. We want more economic development here, and again, I know that this is all in good faith. I just think that the approach might be a little, maybe not quite fitting. I think that businesses do bring risks, and to put on an additional burden on taxpayers is probably not the best move right now, considering the situation that Newburgh is in. I grew up listening to all these comments that Newburgh was dangerous, that Newburgh is a dumping ground. I was never ashamed of Newburgh, and I will continue to work and fight for Newburgh. But I would also like to mention and echo comments from other folks who spoke earlier, that we should not have to, people should not treat Newburgh as a place where we should be grateful that someone is coming in. We should be on our knees and thank them because they're, saving our city. We should definitely be working with different businesses. We should be working with different developers, of course. But I want to make sure that everything that's coming into Newburgh is going to it's going to benefit all of our residents. These visitors that are coming to Washington headquarters, these visitors are most likely here for one night, and to pay $300, $400 a night at a hotel when they can, pay maybe less, $100, $150 at a hotel on the highway. I do think I'm a little concerned about the risk that this business might bring. And again, we're going to fall into the cycle where that burden is going to fall on homeowners, the same people that we're trying to keep in Newburgh, the same people that we're trying to protect, and make sure that their taxes don't go up, because that's the number one thing that I heard when knocking on doors and talking to people. And so I would really like to ask that you reconsider perhaps having more conversations with city council members and another hearing where perhaps you could get a little bit more of a diversity and a different perspective from more Newburgh residents that couldn't be here today because of their work. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of the list, but if there's anybody that hasn't spoken yet that would like to speak, now's the time. Maybe. Okay, we're good. Before we end, we're basically ending now, right? Just a couple things. There has been a thread that has gone through a lot of the commentary that I do sort of want to address, because it's relevant from our mindset and philosophy as a board, and how we discharge our duty to the people of Newburgh, which is what we are here for. We are here for the people of Newburgh. We are public officials beholden to the people of Newburgh. We're not beholden to Sims or any other developer. We are very aware of, first of all, we're all city of Newburgh residents, right? To sit on this board, we have to be a city of Newburgh resident. So you have to walk the streets. And all of us moved here because we really wanted to be here. The way it is now. Because it's a beautiful city, it's got beautiful people. I love my neighbors. It's fun walking out the street and saying hi to Debbie down the block. It really is a great, great thing for me personally, and I know my board members feel the same way because we know each other pretty well. We go about what our charge is, what our duty is, because we want to see our friends and neighbors benefited. And any application that we consider, what we are considering is what benefit is this going to bring. There is a bird in here. Oh boy. Sorry. Well, okay, great.
I'm going to try to open it.
There you go. See, Thomas will take that. I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad omen. I don't know how that works. Is anybody more superstitious than I?
Oh, is it following me? Like I can't.
And you're, yeah, I mean,
Just let it get settled and I'm gonna just.
She says, yeah.
That's Newburgh.
Community getting together to make something good happen, you're right.
We all good?
Why are you looking down? Trying to make it fly.
I gotta go turn on the dog.
Oh man. Thank you, Karen, for your service and your love of animals. We appreciate it. All right. Anyway. That's what we're evaluating here. People have talked about a lot about there already being a lot of development here, there already being a lot of things. Part of what's concerning to me about that, especially people that have moved here from the city, and obviously it's been brought up a couple times, and it's the way it is. The development that's happening now is one off, two off. Somebody with money from the city moving up and buying something and doing something. It might benefit themselves, maybe their family, maybe they open a business and they hire a bunch of people. By and large, talking about people moving from the city, there is a disparate racial component to that. Mostly white people moving up from the city. And we live in a community that has been beset because of historic racial oppression, systemic oppression, poverty, that what our charge is for our friends and neighbors to provide them with some opportunity, with some ability to not have Newburgh today and tomorrow and 1 year, 5 years from now be like it has been in that regard in the future, or as it has been in the past. We want to benefit our neighbors. We want to benefit the people that are here. That's how we're going to evaluate this. I can assure you that we're doing it on behalf of the people. I don't know that we're going to come down in the way that some people want to come down. I'm not sure how we're going to come down. We haven't made a decision yet. That's why we're here to hear you guys. We want to make sure that there's an economy that benefits everybody, an economy that benefits primarily people in the city of Newburgh, and there's going to be new people along the way too, and we want them to join the party. For any information that you ever want from any of us, of course you can contact the office. Go to the Newburgh IDA website, Google City of Newburgh IDA, it'll pop up, you'll see it, all our documents, all the information as far as this application, the cost-benefit analysis, the test of reasonableness. That's all published there as soon as we get it. It's right there for the public. You know, it may be the case that we could blast it out better, but we talked about doing a City of Newburgh IDA website, so that might be in the hopper, Facebook page, so it's more easy for people to do that. So definitely feel free to go on there, and you can look at more information about this application itself, and any kind of future applications or agenda items that we have. And we welcome you to do that. We welcome you to contact the office if you ever have any questions. A lot of you know me personally, or at least know somebody that does. Get in touch with me. Like I said at the beginning, I'm always happy to talk about any of these things. I mean, there are some situations where I may not be able to release confidential information or something like that. But look, as a general matter, I'm always around to talk about what we're doing and how we're doing it, and how we can do it better to essentially always benefit the people of the city of Newburgh. That's what we're here for. That's what we're going to do. I believe that is. Well, that's good for me. Thank you all for your comments, your input, your consideration. Okay. If anybody has any other comments after, or anybody knows anybody that wants to comment that wasn't able to be here today, feel free to submit them in writing to the office, to our office.